It's an unprecedented attack on rural staff. It's going to have effect on me personally. I live in Sydney and travel to work in Dungog where I choose to work. I've worked there for 28 years. I don't know if I can do that now. I'll lose 36 RDOs off a year and I'll work hundreds and hundreds of additional on-call hours. And that's supposed to help me with fatigue. It's supposed to help me and my family. It's impossible. It's outrageous. There's no more staff. It's the same number of staff. At Dungog we have 4 staff with 1 relief officer. They're not giving us any more resources. Yet they're expecting me to work more on-call hours, essentially unpaid hours, sacrifice 36 days off a year to plug the gaps in their rosters, and it doesn't even achieve that. It really is going to attack rural ambulance per se, because people are going to leave country towns like Dungog and Coolah and Merriwa and Murrundi. They won't be able to stay there. And that means communities like Merriwa and Murrundi in particular are going to see a high turnover of staff and possibly lose staff altogether, leaving the service maybe where they want to go to force volunteers upon those rural communities. On-call is a cheap way of resourcing ambulance. It means they have me 24 hours a day for over a week at a time. It's a cheap way of doing business. All they're going to do is extend my on-call hours. On-call is time worked. They'll say it isn't. Oh no, you're working an 8-hour shift and you're getting 16 hours off. But that's a nonsense. For that 16 hours, I have an ambulance in my driveway. I have a uniform hanging up on the clothes hook. I have an ambulance phone or an ambulance radio sitting beside me. So I'm on edge 24 hours a day, ready to respond. And we do respond. We work very long on-call hours and we get recalled frequently in some cases. So fatigue is a serious issue. Exposure to work is a serious issue with little recovery time. You work a full shift, then you get home, you've just made tea and you get called out and you do a 4-hour transfer. You come back, you get into bed and you're called out again, and that job may be a serious motor vehicle accident, a serious cardiac arrest. And you're physically tired, you're mentally tired, and you're expected to perform like you would if you were fresh coming onto shift at a bigger station like Sydney or Newcastle. Since we've had the modified roster at Dungog with 8 on, 6 off, it's worked a treat for me. I'm able to go and lead a normal life like everyone else. I'm able to travel back to Sydney and spend quality time with my wife. Forget about ambulance work, forget about the stresses of the job, and I'm actually able to rest and recover and come back afresh. And it works. It works for my station, it works for dozens of ambulance stations around the state, and it keeps people happy. It keeps that work-life balance reasonable and fair. And these rosters are nothing about that. They're unreasonable, they're unfair, and they're quite draconian. They have to treat their rural staff with the same level of respect and the same level of compassion that they do the metropolitan staff. We have to be treated the same. We're under extraordinary pressures in the rural areas because we work 24 hours a day. They need to hit government for more resources. This should be the beginning of a staffing campaign for the ambulance service, telling government the answer to this is not changing rosters back to 8-hour shifts, but hitting government for more resources in country towns.